What is going on, traders? Welcome back to the Traveling Trader. Happy Monday to you. A lot to get into today. I wanted to talk about this one stock that's blowing up. Obviously, I'm talking about Shopify, a stock that we actually bought on April 2nd and are now up 81% on. Netflix stock, their earnings are coming up tomorrow. Microsoft earnings are next week. And then I'll get into the medical stocks specifically related to the pandemic. Obviously, Gilead blowing up, Moderna blowing up. Which stocks should you buy these stocks, and which stocks could actually still have a lot left in the tank? Obviously, with these stocks, we're riding momentum. These are not growth stocks. And then the other huge news in the market, this is just unprecedented. Oil down 99%. This is not a typo right here. We're looking at 17-cent a barrel oil. It's so funny because a few days ago in the trading community that I run, we were talking about, oil being at $5 a gallon and how Fiji water is more expensive than oil. There were even a few traders that were asking whether they should get in oil or not. And for me, oil is untouchable. And this is exactly why. There is actually no limit to what can happen with oil. It is plummeting literally because there is no more room to store oil. There are no places on earth where oil can be stored anymore due to the lack of demand and the increase in supply, partially due to the war games, the oil war games that Russia and Saudi Arabia were playing, obviously, but also just because of the lack of demand in China and around the world. As we are at a standstill, there's nowhere to store oil. So oil is plummeting. For me, oil is untouchable right now, but there could be oil related stocks that are actually good buys in the near term. And we'll go over that as well. So looking at Shopify, we're up 82% on Shopify. We ended up buying Shopify on April 2nd. So not the first downturn, but after it formed this double bottom here, we ended up buying Shopify at around $350. If you want access to the trade alerts, link is in the description. We are getting to overbought levels here on Shopify, so I would be placing a trailing stop limit just to take profits. And I would hate to lose these profits on a violent downturn of some sort. Shopify is increasing due to their increasing revenue. This is what Shopify looks like actually for the last 6 years. Almost every single bar is higher than the previous one, and we are now at $1.5 billion of yearly revenue. They have over 1 million customers, and people initially tended to link Shopify with some of the smaller web shops and whatnot. But now Shopify is actually powering Fortune 500 corporations. So continued growth is really what the market is responding to here, and I really love the stock for the long term. But $633. That's a little steep if you haven't bought yet. Netflix is at $441. Netflix is reporting earnings. I gotta look this up. Actually, they're reporting earnings tomorrow. It has been one of the stocks that has actually thrived in this environment, right? In the pandemic environment, since everyone is at home watching. And then plus Tiger King obviously was a hit. So Netflix is one that we played via options. Again, I sent that out in the trade alerts. Microsoft is reporting earnings next week. Microsoft is one that we bought on March 23rd, literally caught almost the absolute bottom here. And obviously, like I said before, it wasn't like we were bottom hunting, but this was the week of the stimulus. So Microsoft, McDonald's, Google, Amazon, Shopify, those were all stocks that we bought around that same time. And we are currently up on Microsoft around 30% on Microsoft. So, and I expect them to actually beat earnings. Microsoft is one of the companies that continually beats earnings, every single time that they report, at least for the last couple of years or so. All right, so let us go over the medical stock specifically as it relates to the pandemic. You have Gilead here. This is the weekly chart, but let's look at the daily chart. It was up 10% yesterday, down about 1% today. But should you be buying Gilead? And in my view, Gilead is overpriced here. I don't like a buy on Gilead. The reason I was looking at the weekly chart is because there seems to be this strong 4-year resistance here at this level. Every time it gets to this level, you see it tanking back down to its support, right? So you can actually say that Gilead is in this range here for the last 4 years. So every time it hits resistance, it comes back, tests support, goes back, hits resistance. So it hit this resistance on the weekly 4 or 5 times in the last 4 years. And the fact that nothing is really solidified as it relates to medical discoveries with the virus, right? Nothing is solidified. There are a few companies that are doing vaccines that are currently in preclinical trials. There are some that are testing other drugs that were used on malaria and AIDS and Ebola, but there's really nothing solidified here. So yeah, I mean, even though there was this drug here called remdesivir. Even though some early peak tests show that it's been somewhat successful, those tests haven't really been comprehensive. So this is definitely a hype play, and I would look at shorting Gilead here. I would definitely not buy Gilead here. So even if you don't take the risky approach of shorting, I just would not enter Gilead here. Let's look at Moderna stock. Moderna stock. This is the weekly. This is insane. Just in the last 2 weeks, it's up 70%. And Moderna is another one of these that's definitely playing the hype game. And again, I would not buy Moderna here. I mean, like I said, this is based on hype. And also, they did announce that they have a vaccine that's going into trials, but the trials don't end until June 2021. So, do you really think that this stock is going to sustain this level of growth or this level of hype until over a year from today? I think it will continue to be volatile, if anything, right? Just really playing off of the news cycle. So I would not buy Moderna here. So what would I buy if I was trying to leverage the news as it relates to the medical aspect of the pandemic? Well, there's one company, it's a smaller company called Vaxart, right? The ticker symbol is VXT. The ticker symbol is VXT. And the reason that I like it, for one, it gives you the volatility that you need, but it isn't at all-time prices the way that the last two that I mentioned were. And you see that it forms this pretty predictable pattern where, it forms these rounding bottoms continuously and always matches the previous high from where the rounding bottom started. So in this case, we're looking at about 276 as the take profit, but we're already up 8%. We entered this morning. I sent it out in the trade alerts, and we're already up 8% on Vaxart. So this is one that I'm definitely eyeing for quick profits. I'm not looking to hold this, and it's only the $2 stock, which could be dangerous. To $2.50 could be dangerous because small increments represent large percentage changes both up and down. So still risky. Low volume stock here, and we're definitely playing the hype, but as long as you play your risk accordingly and you know how much of your portfolio that represents, that's fine. All right, and I'll give you a glimpse of a couple of stocks that we added to the long-term holdings. I'm looking at Booking here, right? Booking, yes, booking.com, but this is Booking Holdings. So they actually have multiple business verticals or companies within Booking. They have Booking, Priceline, Agoda, Kayak, Cheap Flights, rental cars, etc. So Booking Holdings is one that has been just a really consistent workhorse in the stock market, trading between 1,600 and about 2,100 or 2,200 a share for almost 4 years. So I would definitely relish any opportunity to grab a stock like this at its 500-week moving average. This blue line here is the 500-week moving average for Booking, and it definitely touched that the week that we crashed, right? So this is almost a 10-year support zone here. I'm looking to add United Airlines. As you know, I'm a big fan of holding airlines long term here. United actually reported earnings, so you could say that the worst is behind them, at least as it relates to this pandemic. And if they start opening up in limited capacity towards the end of May or June, maybe for business travel at least, then we'll start to see these airlines ramping up. But these are definitely insanely low prices compared to where airlines usually trade. I mean, we're talking about the last time that United was at this price point, you have to go back all the way to 2012. So, again, I relish the opportunity to pick these stocks up for cheap. And I said I wouldn't play oil itself, but you can look at certain oil stocks. This is right here. This is ExxonMobil. And, there's a question as to why these stocks aren't tanking. Well, for one, they already tanked, right? They tanked well before oil did. But two, the reason is because oil companies or companies that derive their revenues from selling oil at retail prices is not the same as oil companies that whose business is primarily drilling, right? So if ExxonMobil is selling you retail oil, then they actually benefit from having cheap oil. So I'm definitely looking at a couple of these oil companies for the long term for sure. All right, looking at Bitcoin, I sent out an alert on Bitcoin saying, or earlier this morning, saying that Bitcoin continues to do these repeating patterns. I've noticed it a couple of times, played it a couple of times, but there was this pattern here at around April 6th, April 9th, between April 6th and April 9th, that looks exactly the same as this pattern here, even the way that it's riding the 21 EMA and the 50 MA on the hourly chart. And I was saying that it's getting really close to the 200 MA when I sent this out earlier this morning, and the RSI was oversold, almost exactly the same conditions as what we previously saw. And I was saying that we would likely break through the 200 MA, especially if the stock market continues falling. And you could see here that the S&P is down about 1%. Wow, wow, wow. Crude oil is 1 cent a barrel. A penny a barrel. That's just nuts. That's just nuts. All right, we'll continue to watch this, and maybe report on it tomorrow if there's any. I don't know what the industry can do here. I've never seen anything like this in my entire life, and I've been trading for almost 20 years. But I was saying Bitcoin, if the markets continue to drop, then Bitcoin will likely fall below this 200 MA, and I'll be looking to gather up some cheaper Bitcoin, or potentially go for a long play. I don't know, but I'll be sending it out in the trade alerts. In terms of crypto trades, we had a successful trade on BNB, took about 8 or 9% on that after it hit our $16.80 target. We had a successful trade on XTZ BTC. It was initially up 15% and then dropped back down to 10%. But the crypto market has been relatively quiet compared to the stock market, right? It's really just Bitcoin following what the S&P is doing. And besides the small pump that happened over the weekend, there hasn't been really anything drastic, drastic change in the market structure of crypto. Anyway, that is it for this video. Go ahead and sign up if you want access to the trade alerts. It is April 20th, so I would wait until, the first of the month to sign up, because the way that the service that I'm using, the way that it works, it just automatically renews everyone on the first of the month. So, go ahead and sign up if you want, but you'll get about 10 days here left, and then it will go ahead and charge you again on the first. But if you want access to the trading group, sign up, link is in the description. If you need help with options or need one-on-one training with regards to technical analysis, same link is also in the description. I would also wait until May 1st if you are planning on leveraging that. Subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, leave a thumbs up if you got anything out of this video, leave a comment down below. Stay safe out there, traders. Peace.